So today we are making chicken Alfredo lasagna. Alright, so these are some of the spices that we will be using. So we have garlic powder, nature seasoning, onion powder, and then we have this garlicky onion herb by Dear Daisy or Dasha Daisy. She's Dear Daisy on Instagram. And then we also have some Italian seasoning. So I'm going to put everything into a bowl and mix it. I like to do this just because I feel like this just marries all the seasonings together. And to me, it just tastes better when you do it that way. Here's some cheese, and I'll show you what type of cheese we'll be using. So we're using the Italian creamy melt, 2 packs of that. Makes it really nice and creamy. All right, so let's get to cutting up these veggies. So we have onion, we have garlic, and then we have a red bell pepper that we will be cutting up as well. So this is going inside a dish. It doesn't have to be cut up pretty. You just want to chop it pretty fine and you should be good to go. And because we're using fresh cloves of garlic, we do have to peel. I find that the easiest way to get this done is to just press down onto the garlic with your knife, and then you can just peel it from there. So that is what I'm doing here. And then after peeling, you'll see me press down on the garlic again just to kind of release all that goodness. And then you want to chop it up. We're going to chop up 1 bell pepper, but we're not going to use the entire thing. Just take what you need and set the rest to the side for a different dish, another dish. I thought I cut myself. Be careful when using a sharp knife and cutting up veggies. This dish is a lot of prep work. So once you get all the prep work done, then you can go into your layering. I think that's what intimidates a lot of people when they're making any type of lasagna. So again, here we're making chicken Alfredo lasagna. So it's different stages to this dish. You kind of have to, you need noodles, you need veggies, you need sauce, you need cheese. So you kind of have to prep everything prior to starting your layering. So that's what we're doing here. We're starting with our veggies. And one part of cooking is knowing when to start things so that everything can be done at the right time, and what temperatures to put it on. I think a lot of cooking is just trial and error. So you kind of just have to try it a few times and eventually you'll get it. This dish, it kind of changes every time I make it. I try new things. I try different cheeses. This is my first time trying the creamy melt and it was amazing. All right, so we are almost through our veggies, prepping our veggies. And when I'm finished with all of my veggies, you'll notice that I separate the garlic from the onions and peppers. And that's just because I am using that garlic for my sauce. So while I'm making that Alfredo sauce, I'm going to put the garlic in first to kind of get that flavor in. And then I'll put the rest in. And that's just something I like to do because I feel like it tastes better. To me anyway. So I am just giving that garlic a rough chop because I don't want large chunks of garlic. So I'm just taking my knife back and forth, cleaning off the edges of the knife and then going back in, back and forth until I have my desired size. All right. So you see how I separated. I'm putting the onion and the bell pepper in one bowl, and then into a different dish I'm going to add my garlic. And then at the end you'll see we'll just have a basically like an assembly line of items when we start to layer our lasagna. This is not something that you have to follow to the T, but it's just what I like to do. This dish also calls for turkey bacon, so you can see the turkey bacon has been cooking as well as the chicken has been soaking while I've been chopping up veggies. So I don't, to each its own. For me, when I'm working with chicken, I like to just have my chicken soaked with some apple cider vinegar just to really clean it. And then you'll see me just drain that water quite a few times because you want to get that apple cider vinegar flavor off. So we did go ahead and clean and trim some fat. And this is what I was left with. So I'm going to just take the chicken I was left with and I'm going to sprinkle some of the seasoning on it, not all. And then I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to mix that seasoning onto this clean chicken really well. And I like to do this before I add it to the pan, but you will see me add a little more seasoning while it's in the pan as well. But I feel like this just distributes the seasoning all over the chicken perfectly. All right, so here I have my noodles and I have some water. So I've added the water to the pan so it can start to boil. But while I'm waiting for that to boil, I am going to go ahead and start to brown my chicken. So I'm not going to use raw chicken in my lasagna to layer. I'm going to cook it through. It's not going to be cooked all the way, but I'm going to start the cooking process. So I just added some oil. I added grapeseed oil. That's the oil that we like to use. And as you can see, I'm adding some seasoning. And you just want to cook these chicken breasts until they are nice and brown. Flipping them over. Want to get a really nice sear on your chicken breast. And I did use 2 bags of chicken breast, so I have some off to the side, and I'm going to be cooking that once this first set is finished. I didn't want to overcrowd my pan. All right, while that's cooking, I went back to my oil, went back to my water, which is now boiling, and I am going to be adding all of my lasagna to that water. And I just want to make sure that I get the lasagna situated in that water. All right, so you see that nice brown on that chicken? That's exactly what you want. It's perfect. And once it's finished, I'm just going to remove it from the pan because I'm going to be making my sauce in the same pan using the drippings from that chicken. And you do want to watch your noodles as they start to cook and push them down. All right, so we are starting our sauce. So I am now just adding a half a stick of butter to my pan where I cooked my chicken. Just a quick tip, if I saw any pieces that looked to be burnt, I remove them because I don't want my sauce to taste burnt or bitter. So I'm just adding that butter, and as I'm adding the butter, I'm taking a wooden spoon and I am scraping the bottom of the pan to get all those drippings from the chicken up. And this is really going to give you a really flavorful sauce. It's okay to start from scratch and not start from the same pan where you cooked your chicken, but I just feel like this just provides a lot of flavor. So here I am adding my garlic. Like I told you earlier, I like to do the garlic separate. So I'm going to add that and I'm going to mix that around in there and let that kind of saute a little bit before I add my veggies. Back to my noodles. You see me pushing them down again just to make sure that the entire noodle gets cooked. And I did use 1 entire box just to make sure I have enough noodles. If you're new to making lasagna, I would suggest even doing 2 boxes because sometimes some, break or they stick together. So you want to make sure that you have enough for your dish. All right, I am now adding my veggies. And I kind of want to mix that around, and then I want to saute that as well. It smells so good at this point. I can smell it right now. Smells so good. All right. So now I'm going to take my heavy cream, and once I feel that my veggies are completely cooked, and then I'm going to go ahead and pour that right into that pan, because now we are starting our sauce. Those veggies were the base. Here we are with our heavy cream. So we are making our own Alfredo sauce for our chicken Alfredo lasagna. And this is making Alfredo sauce 101 right here. And I will tell you, by using butter and heavy cream, you're going to have a very, very rich sauce, but it's going to be delicious. Restaurant quality. All right, I have removed my noodles and I am running them under some cold water just to stop the cooking process. I don't want them to continue to cook because I want them to be the perfect texture. I have now switched over to my whisk, and I'm just whisking that heavy cream a little bit because I am about to add my cheese. And as I start adding that cheese, I want to make sure that I'm whisking so it mixes together really well. So we are adding Parmesan cheese, and I'm not going to add the whole thing at once. I'm probably going to do about half, and then do the other half once I get that mixed in well. Okay, so you just want to take your whisk and kind of whisk that around into the heavy cream. And you'll feel your sauce starting to thicken, which is perfect. It's exactly what you want. All right, so we're going to continue to just stir here. And then we're going to be adding the rest of that cheese. So that was the other half of that Parmesan cheese, and we're just going to continue to stir. All right, I don't know if you remember, but we did have some seasoning left over. So we are going to go ahead and add that to our sauce, just so we can have that robust flavor in both our sauce as well as our chicken, so it's all throughout the dish. And, you know, just stop and check to see if your sauce is indeed thickening. You can also, you're going to have it on medium-high heat. So you're going to allow it to, you know, really bubble up and boil some. That's going to help it thicken. So I just added some parsley. I didn't have the fresh parsley. This was right around the holidays. Our sauce is good. So we're going to move on to our chicken. So I had that chicken just draining on some paper towel just to get that excess oil off. So I'm going to actually take my chicken and cut it in some strips. Now, sometimes I do strips. Sometimes I take the chicken and I cut the breast completely in half, and then I just make them thinner pieces. This time I opted to cut them in strips. We're also going to take our bacon and we're going to go ahead and cut that as well. And once that's done, we are going to set up our assembly line so that we can start to layer. So our first layer will be our sauce. Even when I do traditional lasagna, I always start with my sauce. So that's the sauce. You can see the thickness there. It got really nice and thick. I did take a little bit of that other cheese, the Italian creamy milk, and I added that to the sauce as well. So we go sauce, lasagna, aka noodle. So sauce, lasagna, noodle. And you're going to see me use different amounts of the noodles for each layer, because I just want to make sure that it's always being covered. So we went sauce, noodle, sauce. Here we are. Going to add a little more sauce to that third layer just to make sure it's in there really good. Let me know in the comments if you remember every layer that I did. So we went sauce, noodle, sauce, bacon, and then we're actually going to do chicken. So if you can remember without going back, just drop a line in the comments if you think you remember without going back and stopping and writing it down. Just, you know, off the top of your head, if you can remember how we layered. Leave a comment below. So far, we went sauce, noodle, sauce, bacon, chicken, cheese, right? I think that's what we went. All right, so we're adding another layer of noodles here. And again, my noodle count is a little bit more than it was last time. This time we're gonna add all of our sauce because this is it. So, excuse me, we used the sauce 3 times. So we went sauce, noodle, sauce, bacon, chicken, cheese, noodle, sauce. More bacon, more chicken. This is like playing Simon. And then we're adding some cheese, but you want to leave some cheese for your top layer because we're going to layer that full top with the cheese. I did add a little more of that garlicky onion herb so we can have that robust flavor all throughout. And then on the very top, we are going to add noodles and make sure that everything is covered well, and then add some some cheese, and then add some more seasoning. And I added some Italian seasoning as well. Boom, and done. That baby is about to go in the oven. So I already warmed the oven. It was on 375. I do like to cover my lasagna, so I'll do about 30 minutes covered, and then I'll uncover it and I'll keep it in there until I find that my cheese is browning and bubbling. And here is what it looks like. Delicious. It's amazing. Can't wait for you guys to try it. Thanks for watching.